Hey, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. I'm Dr. Ariel Hammond, and this is the Enrichment Entrepreneur, a podcast for current and aspiring entrepreneurs who are in the business of helping kids thrive. We're talking after-school programs, summer camps, tutoring, enrichment, the people and places that show up for kids outside the classroom. I'm still building right alongside you, and that's exactly why we're here, to learn, grow, and figure this out together.
Let's go!
Hi, and welcome back to the Enrichment Entrepreneur. We are here today with David Dodge, the founder of CodaKid. So to start off, before you give us your intro, tell us a little bit about yourself, David. I have one question. So you've been running enrichment businesses since 2005. 20 years in, what do you know now that would have saved you the most pain if you'd known it at the start?
I wish I had been wiser in choosing employees. I think that over the years, I have gotten better at selecting people that are A players. And in the beginning, I just didn't have the skills to do that. So I think that has been probably the biggest change in how I currently do things now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you, David. So we always start off with a juicy question. So now can you tell us a bit more about your journey in the youth enrichment space?
Sure. So I started life as a teacher back in the 90s. I'm dating myself here, but I speak fluent Spanish as well as obviously as English. And so I worked in public schools in Tucson and taught a lot of bilingual students in their ELL programs. I decided to leave it and go into technology, and I had a background in game development and whatnot. I ended up getting a job in Silicon Valley. I started out at Sega of America, and I joined a startup that was building games for the Sony PlayStation, and I basically was able to hone my coding skills, when you're doing something 100 hours a week for almost a decade, you get pretty good at it. So I worked on a number of award-winning games. And then long story short, after, again, I mentioned the 100 hours, I kind of burned out and I just wanted to get back into education. And so I ended up launching SurePrep Learning, which was an after-school tutoring program that started as an academic, in-home program. And then we learned about some federal programs that provided free tutoring for underperforming schools and did that and grew that to a point where we were in 4 states. We had 2,000 active tutors, a team of about 45 full-time staff. And that grew like a rocket ship. Getting back to your initial question, I learned a lot there about hiring and how to select people that would be a real fit for the team. The federal program got shut down by one of the administrations, and not our program, but the whole thing. And we pivoted into what I thought was a perfect blend of my background in both education and technology. And we launched CodaKid in 2014. And so we've been doing that ever since. We started out as a brick and mortar enrichment program. We actually ended up going into schools, bringing laptops, and expanded that throughout the Phoenix Valley area. That's where we're based. And then we expanded into Tucson and we started doing summer camps all over the state. And then we launched an actual physical academy, which had sort of a subscription model back in 2019. And then the pandemic hit, and we had been doing online programs, just kind of building it, slow growing it. And it exploded during the pandemic. And we ended up just not looking back. We shut down all of our brick and mortar operations, and we've been online only since the start of the pandemic. Yeah, so that's my story. So I have a combination of doing a lot of in after school academic tutoring as well as enrichment and a mishmash of different educational experiences.
Yeah, it's wonderful to hear of a journey that's gone through so many phases in scale and growth, starting brick and mortar, then going into schools, then pivoting during COVID to an online format that worked really well and continuing that. So you bootstrapped CodaKid from zero to over $1 million in revenue annually. And you've done that for quite some time with no outside funding and no safety net. In your opinion, what actually got you there, and what does that journey look like for the operators who really want to reach that number themselves?
It's a tough road, but I think that again, if you can do it, it's a great way to go. I've scaled two SurePrep and CodaKid to seven-figure companies, and we bootstrap both. In the beginning, before we had relationships with banks, it was very, very challenging. We were getting paid net 30, sometimes net 60 from the schools. We had one school that was net 90, and we had to float payroll. We always have hired W-2 employees as our teachers. And as far as it goes, we had some very challenging times. We actually ended up having to factor our invoices with factoring companies, which was very expensive. We had some real nail biters where we were really worried we weren't going to make payroll, and we somehow made it through and developed banking relationships. And over time, I've been with the same bank actually for over 20 years now, and they know us well and know what we do what we say we're going to do. And we have an excellent relationship and have been able to fund some of our ventures with debt financing, SBA, 7A loans. We've done a variety of different things to basically provide capital for growth. But it's a tough road to hoe. I will say this, some of my really good friends who raised capital, especially those that raised in during the pandemic when things were just on fire, many of them actually have gone under. When you do take on capital and there is that expectation of a certain rate of return and you're not meeting that, those folks can shut you down. And that is what has happened to a number of dear friends in the industry.
Thank you. There is definitely a takeaway from that for those who want to grow and need to finance it. Having great relationships with a bank before you need the money, building that over time, because your business has had that relationship for many, many years, not just in times of need, but just for your normal banking needs, so that you have that relationship. And when it's time to apply for a loan, they know you all very well, and you're more likely to get it and not have to rely on more risky capital.
Yeah, I mean, Richard Branson was, I believe, the one who was famous for saying banks are like buses. There's always another one coming.
Okay.
Taking the opposite approach. That said, banks are, I mean, especially after some of the financial austerity issues that banks had over the past decade, they obviously look at numbers, and that ultimately makes their decision on how much risk they're willing to take on you. But it does help to know the right people. We've had great relationships. And again, there are some great federal programs. The SBA programs are a great vehicle. They can be expensive in terms of payback. I do encourage those that have somewhat of a track record that need more cash to scale. That is a way to debt finance that banks are comfortable with. So I would definitely look into that.
Thank you. Also, in hearing your journey with CodaKid, Tutorware, and SurePrep, I hear masterful pivoting. So knowing when to pivot, when you've hit a ceiling with a certain modality of delivery, and then pivoting to the next more fruitful opportunity. How in your journey have you known when to pivot? When you've kind of maxed out at brick and mortar, when you've maxed out at the school-based, site-based delivery model, and then when to do that next thing?
Great question. SurePrep, really, we didn't have a choice. We had this federal program that was literally 85% of our revenue, and it just basically phased out. And so federal programs are great when the tap is on, but man, when the tap turns off, we had tried to diversify, and we just weren't fast enough. We also felt like our industry had become a red ocean opportunity to some degree. And so at that time, coding for kids, again, it was my background. It was just really strange how all of it came about, but it felt like the wave was building on that. And so we took a risk and did it. And we could have lost everything. We leveraged every penny we had. And there were some really tight times where at one point I remember turning to my wife and just saying, gosh, should I go start driving for Uber at night? I didn't know how it was going to turn out. And it was really, really tough times. As far as it goes, those nights, I'm sure some of you out there as entrepreneurs that are bootstrappers have had those 3 a.m. mornings where you're staring at the ceiling. That was me. And we did get through it. We're not out of the woods yet. There are times, even the past couple of years, where post COVID, we saw a decline in demand. And obviously, when millions of kids are locked at home and you're an online kids coding provider, it's like the market was very, very different than now. Again, we are always looking for opportunities. Right now, for example, AI feels to some degree like coding did back in 2014 when we started. And the wave is building, and we are going headfirst into that. And so far, we're very optimistic.
Yeah, and something I think from that, you talked about red ocean coming from the blue ocean strategy methodology and book. So red ocean being when an industry is overly saturated with providers of a product or a service, and it becomes like in shark infested waters, a red ocean. We begin to be commoditized and competing on price. And then it's a race to the bottom. Well, if everyone is selling the same thing or what seems to be perceived as the same thing from the customer perspective, then they have nothing else to judge you on outside of price. So then we start competing as I'm the cheapest, I'm the cheapest, I'm the cheapest, and no business wins in that category. But when you travel into the blue ocean that's not saturated, you are unique, you're one of one, and then you have pricing power because you have unique value. And that's the spot any of us would want to be in. Knowing when, for example, right now in the STEM youth enrichment industry, coding is a red ocean. When David started, it was not. Now it is oversaturated in that area. So where's the blue ocean opportunity? And for those of us, regardless of what area we're servicing, whether it's sports or arts, it's a good exercise to take a step back and recognize where we are in market saturation. And if we are in a very saturated area, then how can we carve out a distinct opportunity for ourselves that is perceived as different enough to the consumer where we're then not compared to the other options and having to undervalue our services?
Yep. They say the riches are in the niches,
Yep.
and finding niches that make sense for you. That's great advice. Another thing that I have learned over the years is we didn't do this in the beginning, and we started doing it about 6 years ago. It's called creating value ladders, where you have different levels of program. So in your funnel, which basically is how you're attracting leads and converting them to customers, our lowest level, and it's still a great program, and we have kids all over the world that do it, but it's a coding and AI self-study platform, and it's inexpensive. It's $19 a month. And so we have kids in literally, like, right now, I believe it's like around 98 countries taking courses with it. And we introduced private online tutoring a few years after we had launched that. And so that became kind of, again, in that value ladder. Not everyone from the self-study converted to private tutoring, but enough did, and enough see the value. So we get them in the door with our self-study, which is affordable, has a free trial. We then try to convert those folks to doing private tutoring. And now we even have a higher level, which is called portfolio creation. And what that does is it helps kids that are applying to competitive high schools and colleges create a professional tech portfolio, whether that be a shippable AI product, an AI powered educational game, or even a tech startup with real users. That's an even higher priced product, but it's very niche. It's in our sweet spot. Our leadership team has not only coding backgrounds and AI engineering backgrounds, but we also have a bunch of MBAs. And so we're able to do all of those things and create that additional value. So if there's a way for you all to think in your different niches of ways to create value ladders within your organization, I think that's something that really helped us weather the storms of up and down industry adoptions and a lot of turbulence in our industry.
And it makes sense to consider the value ladder for our services, starting from free all the way to a highest ticket offer. I think a lot of us kind of just start with that one thing we do, whether it's the camps and we just have the camps, or the music lessons and I just do my one-on-one music lessons. But with customers and potential customers, people are at different places in their journey with us. Some may have just become aware that this is even a thing, and they may need some more time to build their relationship, build the trust enough to make a purchase. Others may want a version of the outcomes that we provide, but maybe on their own time, maybe self-study, all the way up to some are enthusiasts. They really love it and they want more, but if we only have the same intro 101 camp or lessons, then we lose those who are our biggest advocates and that's a missed opportunity. And although there will be less of them, the willingness to pay is higher, so it still ends up being worth it. And it continues the relationship for our lifetime value for our customers, keeping them for longer and longer and longer. And as they have more impressive outcomes, that also makes our businesses and our services look better. Because if the ultimate outcome is, in your example, work ready, shareable portfolios that get them in the door for college and career opportunities, that's a really, really valuable outcome. So yeah, that is definitely something for us to consider. So thank you so much for that, David.
Of course. I don't know all the listeners and what their business models are, but I do know that marketing is changing a ton. And again, they're in times of extreme change like we're going through right now, like literally the changes taking place right now are comparable to when we were starting SurePrep back in the early 2000s and Google AdWords was just rolling out. It is that dramatic, the changes that are going on with AI and search. So in the old days, like what I would recommend to almost every education entrepreneur was to build a blog with informational posts that you would link internally to other blogs. You would try to get other sites to link to it to build domain authority for your website. That's the advice I would have given. And honestly, our website, we've had a blog that has had months where we'll have literally 200,000 visitors to our blog. And what we do is we're giving out free, helpful advice, but that is changing somewhat right now due to AI. And I'm not sure how many of you are now using ChatGPT or Perplexity for searches that you used to use Google for, but a lot that adoption curve is accelerating and more people are doing that. For those of you out there that want organic free traffic coming to your website, learning about you, you're going to need to optimize for AI, what we call AEO in the industry, which is answer engine optimization. Okay. And the cool part I mentioned about Google AdWords rolling out in the early 2000s, whenever there's big change, there's also big opportunity. And right now, if you can start optimizing your web pages for answer engines love FAQ sections. They love quick answers to problems. They want to cite you as an option. Let's say best karate studio, Dallas, Texas. As far as it goes, AI will be searching for signals, like it will be looking for reviews. It will be looking at Reddit, subreddits, or mentions of your academy. It will be also looking at content on your website, evidence of success. And it will look at YouTube. If you can get customers to provide video testimonials for you, those are all signals that AEO is going to look at. So in any case, right now, you need to start. I would use ChatGPT and ask it, how can I rank better in AEO? And it will give you very specific advice for your niche. I highly suggest putting those things in. Our blogs, for example, have changed. Instead of writing listicle style informational blogs like best whatever, best Minecraft coding solutions in 2026, we're going more bottom of funnel, which is like where people are about to make buying decisions. So, for example, like best coding options in Phoenix for 13-year-olds, like getting super specific with long tail keywords. That's our strategy now and what we're doing. It'll be interesting to see what ChatGPT proposes for you when you plug in and start talking to it about your strategy.
Thank you for sharing that. What have you found in your journey for AEO optimization? What have been the challenges and the wins that you've gotten so far from doing this work?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we were absolutely crushed. Our organic traffic was absolutely crushed by AEO initially. And I think, I'm not sure how many of you out there are experiencing the same thing, but I know a lot of my friends in the industry are seeing it as well. We had some blogs that drove a ton of traffic to the site, and answer engines now, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Gemini, they're all answering those questions for customers now. If you go into Google and you do a search, Gemini is basically giving you this like top level response rather than having our article up high in the SERP. And so, as far as it goes, we have been optimizing our website. We have been, for example, one thing that you have to do on your website is input schema. It's spelled SCHEMA, and structured data. And it sounds really technical, but it's actually not that hard to do. Basically, what it does is it lets the answer engine know what type of an article it is, whether it's an educational article, whether it's an FAQ style article. That has been very helpful. We're paying more attention to Reddit and responding to comments about our academy on Reddit. We are diversifying as well away from a big focus on blog creation, and we're moving more into video, which we're really good at just from doing it with our academy. But for some reason, we just never really paid a lot of attention to video in years past. So we're definitely diversifying that. Answer engines like comparison charts. They like things that give them quick and easy answers. And so you just need to start thinking that way. What will happen is people will get your website as a recommendation and then go directly to your website rather than clicking on an article that used to be your intermediary where you would hopefully find a way to capture the lead with maybe a pop-up, like offering something for free or something like that. Now they're just going direct to your website. So you'll see fewer clicks, but a lot of times anyone coming in from an answer engine has already maybe made a decision, a buying decision, and is just there to get started. So it's a very interesting time.
Yeah, that is such a good point about the quality of the clicks. Like there is more commitment on the part of the person doing the search, on the part of the parent or guardian, loved one of this child seeking these services. If they're going to GPT, Gemini, Claude, and they're asking best kids summer camp for ages 10 to 12, outdoors, nature. That means they want to buy that exact thing. This is not passive work. And whatever those highest quality options are going to be, there's a high likelihood that one of those services gets purchased if it meets their pricing and scheduling needs as well. And I love your tip to just get started with go into GPT and ask what are the couple of things you can do? What's that one easy thing you can do just to start? And then as you are successful at that one thing, then just adding the layers. But to resist the inertia, that overwhelm, and to not do anything, let's all just do one thing at a time so that we're not left behind and that we're keeping up and being as competitive as possible so that the community is aware of us.
Also, just can't stress enough the importance of video. And again, I find myself scrolling. I think a lot of us do. Not only is a business brand put out some free helpful content on video, I'm finding that Google is basically pushing video higher in the SERP than it used to. Another thing that you might consider as well is creating a personal brand. And I find that TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, what they tend to push personal brand videos above company type videos. People just don't want to get sold to, and it makes logical sense, right? But what you can do as you build that personal brand is in your bio, you can include links to your brand. For example, I offer a free tech roadmap to people who comment roadmap on my videos. And I've had some videos. I had a TikTok video that has almost gotten 600,000 views. And again, I was able to feature, it was an honest take on a variety of different coding and AI academies. And I was able to give, I actually featured my competitors as well, but I was able to feature CodaKid in that video. Another idea for you is just don't shy away from video. I really stunk at it when I first got started, and I still am not, I'm not like as good as I know I will be next year, but I'm getting better and better. And it's amazing the types of brand recognition you can get through video.
Thank you for that. And there's this one thread I want to pull on with your answer there, and it touches on scarcity mindset versus abundance as we see our competitors and as we see opportunities. So you made a video that featured the best programs similar to your own. You gave your honest take with a transparent criteria. And by doing that, you did feature some of your competitors. But by doing that, one, you're informally building that camaraderie. There may be opportunities for partnerships down the line, but we won't have that option if we aren't collaborating and supporting one another in ways that are not detrimental to us, of course, but in ways that the rising tide lifts all boats. So you are making a completely new set of potential customers aware of these services. And it may be that from the video, some other programs maybe got a couple of more customers from that. But we do know that your company got more customers from that. So you won from that no matter what. And there was enough to share the prosperity from it. And for some people, maybe the schedule or the modality or the pricing of that other program that you featured maybe met their needs more. But for those where your programs met their needs more, then they still had that additional opportunity to convert to your value ladder at whatever price point and program that they felt most compelled to. But it's just a testament to stepping outside the box and using opportunities to be of service to potential customers. Step one is to even let them know what is the value of the types of programs you offer in the first place. There may be an awareness gap that needs to be closed. And then from there, giving them as much information as they need to make the most informed decision, because ultimately they still then feel an allegiance to us, our personal brand, and maybe they follow us on TikTok or on YouTube for more and more content, resources, mentorship, and they eventually become a customer for us down the line. So not taking the scarcity approach and also thinking more in terms of building long-term relationships with the community, including those in the space offering similar services and those customers who have yet to convert.
A video that I saw I guess it was a couple of months ago, and I've started following them. And they're basically a tennis academy called Fuzzy Yellow Balls. They do these wonderful videos, super helpful strategy videos. And what they do is at the end of their video, they're like, comment this, and we'll send you a free guide on whatever it is that they're talking about. They also mention that they've got this little book for sale, and there's a link to that. But it's amazing how many views they're getting. The key to doing well in video is consistency and then just providing value. People really like homemade style videos. You do not need to be a production expert. For example, you can see my background right now. Like I've done a number of videos that just have a window and a computer behind me. Sometimes I'll do a green screen in the back and do some more fancy stuff. But a lot of times, if what you're talking about resonates with your client and is providing them with something that is really genuinely helpful for them, that isn't selling you, you're establishing credibility or in your niche, and you'll be amazed at how many people might respond to one of your lead magnets that are affiliated with your video channel. And then one last little tidbit, and this is a shout out to a friend of mine, Sabrina Ramanoff, but she started this AI, and I'm getting no payment or anything for this, but there's a solution called Blotato. Okay. And what I do is I will produce a single video, load it into Blotato, and Blotato will basically send it out with one click to 7 different social platforms. So it just saves me a lot of time. I'm just like, do my thing, derp, and it's gone. So I've got content on Insta and TikTok, YouTube, boom, it just does all of it. So helpful for busy entrepreneurs.
Just wrote that on my hand. I am going to look into that. So yeah, there are tools for those of us who may be overwhelmed of starting and what platform to choose. Just choose one if we are just getting started, and then also look into those different tools that could put it on different platforms for us. So yeah, there are options. And this relates to, you've written for Inc. magazine before, you've been on national media, and it makes sense that in previous ways of marketing, that visibility, writing the articles, that was the way to get attention and yeah, for your business. And now we are moving into a new era in which the founder presence is important and people do want to see and hear from us our unique perspectives. When you think of local marketing versus national marketing, how have you seen that change over time and the tactics for selling hyper local versus national?
Yeah, it's been a while since I've done hyper local. So I will just share a few things that I've noticed, but I do primarily national, but I do check our local listings. I do think, again, making sure your profile is all set up in Google and Google Maps is really important. I think for local, just paying attention to your reviews and getting as many as you can. We have a number of automations that we use with our CRM that's constantly soliciting reviews from customers. Whenever we hear from someone on the phone that they're really happy, we even try to get video testimonials from them, which is like just gold. Again, monitor your position in local search by coming in, open up an incognito window, because a lot of times Google Chrome or whatever browser you're using, if they realize who you are, you want to see how you really appear to the world. So set up an incognito window and then do some searches on Google. Also do them using the answer engines for things that you think your customers would search for, like best karate academy, Arlington, Virginia, whatever, and try even long tail keywords. I would create like a list of keywords that you think are bottom of funnel, like really important keywords that your customers are going to look for. Check out how you appear. Check out what people are saying about you. Try to find out exactly what your customer is seeing. And then, as far as the keywords go, if you're not appearing in searches whatsoever for those keywords, then it's time for you to then start producing content that relates to that keyword and following some of the other advice I gave earlier on trying to get visibility with that keyword.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. And even the take on video. Thank you for highlighting the importance of video testimonials.
The good news is that local is significantly easier than national. And so there really are opportunities to excel in local. And local loves video, local loves reviews. if you can get backlinks to local portals, resources, those are also super helpful. For those that may not know what a backlink is, it's when an article on another website has a link to you. So maybe they're writing about you, or they mention you in one of their articles, and they actually, like, let's say that they're writing and say CodaKid is really good at teaching Roblox game development or something like that. If they put a link, a hyperlink underneath the CodaKid word in their article that links to codakid.com or to our Roblox game development page, that is a backlink. And what you want are do follow backlinks. So we do link exchanges with other companies that are in our niche, and that's another strategy. People are always trying to get us to buy backlinks from them. We're like, no, but we've got a pretty robust blog. Let's do a link exchange. And that's a cheap way to build backlinks.
Thank you for that. I wanted to, as we close this out, go back to your answer to our first question. So 20 years in, what is that thing you wish you would have known? And your answer was around finding the right people. For those who are listening, if they are finding themselves challenged in that area, do you have any tips that are hard learned that you would like to pass to the listener so that they can make the best choices for who to bring onto their team?
Yeah, sure. First of all, we are a startup. We are actually reinventing and this is something we could almost have another podcast on this, but we are now involving AI throughout our organization. AI handles a number of important functions that in the company, and what our needs as far as employees has morphed quite a bit into people who love basically wearing a lot of hats. No one is in like a clear bucket, like all I do is this. So for us, if someone is just really rigid and wants to just do one thing, they're not going to be a fit for our company. So, for example, I have a fantastic employee named Natasha that helps develop courses. She helps do video editing. She helps create ads. She does all of this stuff and loves the diversity of tasks. She's like, this is the most exciting company I've ever worked for. And I'm like, thank you. We love you. We're going to do everything we can to keep her. So again, it depends on your company. Another thing that's super important for us, and again, a lot of times like your mission, vision, and values is just sort of something that's on a wall somewhere. And I will confess that there are some values that are, I guess, a little fluffier than others on our website, but there are some really key ones. One of them is we do what we say we're going to do. And if we can't, we make a big deal out of it. And that's like with our own team, that's with our customers. I like people who we have a very flat organization. There aren't a lot of egos. And so, again, we know our culture really well. And those that like our culture, it's a very unique culture. I have people who've been with us literally for over a decade that wouldn't work anywhere else. They love it. Once you kind of get a sense of your DNA, just make sure to find people that buy in, that are a fit for you, and you'll know quickly. Hire slowly, fire quickly, and that's another thing that's helped us a ton.
So first being clear on what are our values, what is most important to us, and not something aspirational, but us on our best day, what does that look like? What are those behaviors and characteristics that we need from every member of our team for us to succeed? And then hiring for that. Wow. And yeah, you've had team members that have been with you for quite some time. So that advice is, yeah, it's been vetted and it's clearly worked. So that is amazing.
In the era that we're going into, and AI is going to touch every one of you in some way, and AI is changing so quickly, the ability to learn and change is mission critical. So we find people that are in our space that are able to learn and adapt. and that love learning new things. That is another, for this era that we're going into, I think is mission critical.
If there's one major takeaway from this conversation, it is not to shy away from the new and the unknown because it's still going to be there. It's time to jump in and learn and do whatever we can, take as big of a chunk as we are comfortable doing, but to take that action and to learn and to integrate if we want ourselves and our businesses to not only survive in the future, but to thrive.
Well said.
Thank you. All right, David, if listeners want to follow your journey, maybe they want to learn more about CodaKid, where can they find you? Where can they learn more?
Gosh, you can find me on Twitter X. You can find me on TikTok. Our website is codakid.com. You can interact with our AI there. And if you want to reach me and had any questions, I love helping fellow entrepreneurs. So reach out and we'll set up a call.
And those links will be in the show notes for your reference. All right. So thank you so much, David. This has been a pleasure. I personally learned a lot during this, and I'm sure the listeners have as well. So thank you so much, David Dodge with CodaKid, and we will talk again soon.
Great. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. And that's a wrap. Know someone who needs to hear this episode? Share it because
Sharing is caring.
if this episode earned it, give us all the stars in a review on whatever platform you're listening on because it helps other enrichment entrepreneurs find this show. Got a question or a story worth telling? Head to enrichmententrepreneur.com. You can submit your questions, apply to be a guest, and access resources to help you launch and grow your business. Again, that's enrichmententrepreneur.com.
Until next time, keep learning, keep building.